Hello and welcome back. In this third video tutorial I'm going to show you how to segment this model up, make some caps, and get everything nicely arranged and just about ready for export. Let's start off by reorienting the scene, get a little bit of easier setup going on here. What I'm going to do first, you can see I've got everything, all the weight's pretty much done. And something I forgot to show you guys in the last video is the game has a limit on how many bones can influence a single vertex. So I'm actually going to enforce this limit. It's actually not a bad thing to do it at the very end, because as you enforce that limit, what it's going to do is say if there's a vertex that has 5 bone weights, it's going to take the bone with the least amount of weight, which in most cases it's usually only like 1 to 2, which is like nothing, and it's just going to subdivide that up amongst the other 4. So you're not even going to notice a change at all in your weights. I'm going to start off now. I'm going to rename this here to just original. That's our original guy. We're not going to do anything with him actually. What we're going to do is copy him. There we go. I don't know why that didn't work at first. And we're going to rename it hips. I'm going to start out by naming a lot of things, just kind of the basic structure of a lot of the characters. As you can see, my envelope operator copied over. What I'm going to do, I'm going to hide this one for now. I'm going to start pretty much segmenting this model up. Go down here and start with the legs, and I'm just going to pick a polygon and grow selection from there until I get about halfway up the leg. Select those other ones by holding shift. About right there where we'd normally see a dismemberment from one of the base models. And I'm going to extract polygons, and I'm going to choose delete to remove them completely. I'm going to rename that to L leg. Come over here, I'm going to do the same exact thing. Rename that. Start by taking off these arms and hands. Actually, I'll try. I want to get it separated pretty much right at the wrist. Evenly across those edge loops there. It's going to be L hand. I'm actually just going to go ahead and hide that, just to make things a little easier right now. We're going to take this just about up to the shoulder. Right there is good. By the way, I'm renaming this by just simply hitting F2, and I'm just spacing. It automatically adds an underscore whenever you rename this way with the mouse over the Explorer. frame in using the F key. That'll automatically orbit my selection there. Make sure I got them all. There we go. Now for some of these accessories, I may actually want to separate some of these just to keep some of my vertex count down. As you can see, it didn't even factor this in. Let's look at my points. I only got 160 points there, but that's fine. I want to try to keep it under 500 points per object. That way we can cast dynamic shadows within the game if you enable that option. I'm going to separate this little knife here and holster, make it its own object. Make sure I got everything selected there. Right click, there we go. I'm going to name that R leg knife. Hide it just to make sure. Yeah, got everything. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this belt as its own object. So I'm just going to select one polygon on each object. Oops. Oh. Oh, that didn't work out. It seems the belt, without me realizing, is actually part of that, so what I'll do is I'll just only select these separate things. Since I didn't make this model, I did not realize that that was part of it. What I'll do is maybe I'll add some of this other stuff in here with it too. Actually, you know what, I don't want the count to go too high for every object. So let's see, we've got all this stuff here. We'll name that torso gear. Just hide all of it. And this can be torso knife. We'll do torso belts. Make sure we got all those polygons there. And this little communication system. So we'll do that as torso radio, I guess. Sounds good. Now moving up here, I have got all this hair. And it's actually got its own material. So I definitely need to separate that from the head because the game engine won't allow two materials assigned to one object. Although I can do it right here inside a soft image, I cannot do it in the game engine, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to go in and separate all those hair planes from the head, which might end up being a bit tedious, but it kind of has to be done. Here, what I'll actually do is this. I'll make my life a little easier. Instead of trying to get behind that torso, or behind all that hair, I will just come in and, oh, seems like I'm missing a polygon here. I'll have to find out where that one went. But I'm not too worried about it actually, because I can rebuild that polygon since all the vertexes are actually weighted. It's just open there. So all I need to do is this. And all the UV mapping is still there. See? Good as new. Now I just have to redo all this again though, but it's not too big of a deal. I'm actually going to just select everything, and then I'll just separate my hips from this. There we go. Now we've got my whole torso selected and ready to be separated without the hair. There we go. Now I can actually take this hair. Actually, what I'll do is this. Select all the polygons in this whole group and just get rid of this. That way I don't have to go through and pick every single one of those hair planes. That would take forever. Now I'm actually gonna hide that hair. So I need to select my head. Oh wait, one thing that is missing is yeah, his eyeballs. But we can fix this. Then we'll just combine this with the object it's missing from. Everything. delete the inputs. Now what I need to do is separate all this from the torso object, which looks like I've got most everything selected. So there we go. There's our head. And I think that pretty much does it. Looks like we've got everything done so far. And of course we just have our hips object left over. Now you're probably wondering, you know, well, all the weights are missing now. We're gonna actually carry them all over from that original up there. And we're gonna do it, and it's gonna be pretty easy. It'll take a minute or two to do, but all in all, it's a lot faster. And the reason why I do this is to reduce having to go and paint these seams, because trying to make those seams match up and while at the same time everything bending and moving correctly can be kind of difficult to do. So it's really a lot better to do it this way. That way you can just copy all the weights over and you've got no tears in the model where the two joints can, or where the two models meet here, like at the shoulder. You won't have like a slight difference in weights where you could potentially have a tear, which I'm sure some of you have probably seen with some models out there that someone obviously didn't do too great of a job of the whole enveloping process. So we're actually going to go over here and we're going to pick Gator with our object selected, and we're going to choose the original and then right click to end the picking selection. Now what we're going to transfer is this right here, is shape animation and envelope weights. As you can see, transfers right over and collapse this. We're going to just choose freeze M to get rid of all the whole Gator operator, because what will happen if we actually export with that Gator operator, it's going to actually delete that operator, and therefore we lose our weights. So we actually need to freeze that information. And so we're just going to go down each one of these one by one and just transfer and can actually do to speed things up a little bit is the period key on the keyboard will actually redo a lot of operations, but it doesn't seem to be working in this instance because I am transferring. So that's the last thing, but that's a good little thing to know. So there we have it. What I'm actually going to do is go through all these and just hit the freeze M button to get rid of all those Gator operator stacks. And we're going to check everything out, make sure this moves, because I've got the original hidden, so it should move just like, there we go, just like our original did. Everything seems to work. Let's good thing. Got everything moving here. Oh, got a little bit of a funny problem here on the weights. What I need to do is seems we got a little bit of a problem here. Let's go back to our original. We'll hide everything. And here I thought the model's weights were good. You're always going to find something. seems to be better than what it was, but you're gonna find out that a lot of times you're gonna have to go in and tweak these weights after you get it in game, because sometimes things slip by you and you go put it in game and you realize, oh man, there's stuff that's not weighted quite right. So, but since I fixed the original, and that's kind of what you always want to do if you do come into a problem, is fix your original model and then just carry over. See, I'll just freeze that. I'll just carry over the weights again. Alright, that should be good enough for now. If there's any more problems in the future, we'll kind of come to them as we find them. Now I'm going to start actually setting up this hierarchy. Guess I'm going to match that color to that. And now I'm going to just start setting all these guys up. If you look at some of the base models, you'll notice that the hips, it's like kind of the main root mesh, and everything comes out from there. So you pretty much are setting it up so that the hand will follow the arm will follow the torso, and the torso will follow the hips. So you can kind of get it from there. And what I'll do is I'll start doing this. You can do it of two ways. You can drag and drop from the Explorer, which is pretty easy, or you can do it with the keyboard using the /, and as you can see, it brings up a picking session. See, I can pick this, and if you look down here, middle mouse button, pick parent. So we want this leg to be the parent, so then there we go. And then now our leg, and it's parent of that. And we can just pretty quickly go through here. To objects only. I'm going to rename this to hip skier. Make the hair child to the head, and then the head the child to the torso. Somehow I missed those two polygons there. They're part of the torso still. What I actually need to do now is I'm going to cut that, I'm going to cut the hair from that, join these two back together. It's kind of annoying when you find these little problems, but it happens. And just to make sure, I'm actually just going to original at, and then transfer. Actually, notice actually now that I've got these edges that are disconnected, so weld boundary points edges. there we go. It's all fixed now. Reapply my weights. Seems I still have these old ones floating around. Now I'll just show you guys the drag and drop method. So now everything starts at hips just like it should. What we actually need to do now is drop that underneath our stupid triangle off. Now, all these tags, it's actually pretty easy to understand where they all go just by their names. And I'm actually going to use the / method to start pairing them all up. And I'm going to try to select as many of them as I can, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make them visible again. Just, it might help me out a little bit, but probably not. As you can see, like this, goes to these two go to the torso. I'm going to try to find some more like this left chest. Shoulders, torso, cap, head. Briefly, I'll say that these are not the caps. What these bolts are is pretty much say where, if the saber comes in contact where this tag is, that's where it'll chop the body and expose the cap mesh that's normally hidden underneath. So of course all these ones with torso and all these other chest ones, we're just going to go ahead and parent them up like this. There we go. We've got a lot of hip tags. Let's get rid of some of these head ones. Now, here we go, hips. That's also the reason why I segmented the model similarly to a lot of the base models, because these tags, they won't really have to be moved around, and you may find those sometimes you may actually have to move some of these around. Don't be afraid to move them, you know, they're just stupid little polygon triangles. Just keep in mind, if you have to move them, you may have to remove the weights from them first, move them, then just reapply the weights, but since they're all just weighed to one bone, it'll be a simple couple of clicks to reweigh them. So we've got all of our left arm, our left hand, left knee, left leg, I mean. And there we go. I'm actually gonna expand all from here and make sure I did this right and didn't screw anything up inadvertently. looks like everything is where it needs to be, which is good. So there you go, you've got your model segmented, the hierarchy set up, and the tags added to the hierarchy. I guess now, since we have a little bit of time, I can show you how to make some caps, because every model should have caps. I don't care what you say, who you are. It's just stupid to not have them. It's a stupid shortcut to take. So we're going to start hiding some of these and getting down to, let me hide those again, and let me also hide the bones. We don't need to see those. Now you can see I've got this big gaping hole here where the head would be chopped off if he were to be decapitated. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in that hole with some polygons, and then I'm pretty much just going to extract them and do what we did before. I'm going to extract the plane, the little poly mesh from here, and pretty much apply weights to it and name them as I go. So I'm going to use my N key to pretty much sit here and draw new polygons over these holes. And there we go. Looks kind of silly, but we'll get to that in a minute. What I'm going to do is extract polygons, delete, and I'm going to do torso, cap, head, off. Now this naming convention actually has a system behind it. So it's a cap for the torso, but it's between the heads, so an off pretty much tells the game to make it non-visible, but the game code then of course tells it once you kill somebody and dismember them to reveal that cap. And now to make the one on the opposite side, it's going to be quite simple. We're just going to duplicate, and what we'll do is invert polygons, and just make sure that I did that right. Yep. You cannot see the ones behind it. As you can see, it's worked. Normals are flipped, and I'm actually just going to rename that to head, cap, torso, off. So now that I have both sides of that cap, and pretty much I'm going to go in and do the same thing for most of the model. And what I'll do is I'm going to hide only certain parts here. Actually, I'll keep these visible. I'll just have, there we go, I'll hide those ones. That should give me the room I need to make all my caps. So, like before, just need to make sure I'm not welding to any vertices on the back side of the model here. Just keeping everything as neat quads for now. And just like before, just gotta make sure I remember to invert polygons here. And there we go. So you can see I have backface culling enabled, so I'm looking at the back side of this arm, cap, torso, off. What I'm actually going to try to do here is I'm going to see how well this model is made symmetrically. kind of duplicate those two. Go along the negative scaling, and looks like everything lines up pretty perfectly. So I think I'm just gonna roll with that as my left arm caps too. Depending on how well you set up your symmetry on your model as you're building it, you should be able to pull off the same trick, but it doesn't always work if you don't have your symmetry set up quite right. So I'll just change that L to R, or the R to L I mean, knock the number off the end, and there we go. I've got all those caps as well, and I should also be able to do the same thing with these hands. So I think what I'm going to do is start off here. Do that. Invert polygons. There we go. Now let's try to do the same operation as before. Freeze all these. Looks like those lined up pretty good. Even if it isn't 100% perfect, I don't think you'll even notice that. Go. Moving right along here, let me hide some of these objects that I don't need to be distracted by. Four more left here. It's looking like I can even cheat on these last two. We'll find out in a minute. this way, but it seems like a pain. Just do it the old-fashioned way that seems to always work. Seems I've got this backwards somehow. That's right. This one is not. That should be. And where's my other guy? Ah, I see what happened there. Stupid me. Oh well. Now that we've got them all created, I'm going to go in and unhide them all. Actually freeze them all. Just so I know I don't have any sort of weirdo problems. I'm actually going to make these all into a new group. You guessed it. Caps. Now unfortunately I need to go in here and do this whole gator operation all over again. Make sure these things are even transferring, which does not look like they are. See if we can find out why. Okay, sorry about that delay. Seems I somehow managed to lose the weight map from my model, but good thing I kept a backup. So now I'm just going to go back and start transferring everything over. And there we have it. What I'm going to do is freeze M on all these to get rid of the gator operator. Now since I have this, I actually want to keep that visible, but I'll turn off selectability. Now I need to go in and link all these up with the hierarchy. So, of course we got that. We got all these hips ones. Link them to hips. Left arm. Hand. We got this torso. And there we go. So right now we've got, let's just ring that. Got everything all segmented. Got the hierarchy set up. Hopefully if all of our weight transfer went through. Of course we still have some weights aren't very perfect, but we'll fix that. I'll touch those up before we move on to the next video. So if you pull down everything here, we've got everything starting out the way it should be. Of course, want to keep your caps visible so that they're visible in game. And lastly, last thing we want to do with all these caps, let's get our material showing. And you're probably thinking, oh yeah, you've got the main material showing on all the caps. And it doesn't actually matter what material's applied to it in soft image, as long as there's something applied to it. And that's just for the sake of the .xsi format and compiling. It just needs to see some sort of material applied to these objects. So I'm just going to go down here and I'm just going to apply material to each one of these. So it's no longer using this scene root, which pretty much just tells it to use some original material from the scene by default, but it's not an actual applied material, more like just a placeholder. And there we go. Even though that's not obviously going to be what we're going to see in game, it just has to be there. It just needs some sort of material applied, or else the game compiler will spit it out saying there's no material applied to this mesh. And that pretty much wraps this up. Next part will just be pretty much exporting our model, compiling and testing it out in game, making sure everything works. We'll write up a skin file and make the PK3 and all that good stuff. And thanks for watching.